Let's get started. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining in to our monthly grief and bereavement uh, session. This morning, she had sent out a text and asking for someone to champion this month, and I didn't see anybody. So I, I texted in and I wanted to just discuss some things. I've been 2025, besides us dealing in this type of work where we are around death all the time, there was a lot of personal loss in my life in 2025, some expected and some unexpected. Uh, during my one Sunday, during my pastor's appreciation, one of the mothers, one of my favorite people, she was like another mother, not just a mother of the church, but like another mother to me. Uh, was not, to our knowledge, sick. She had ailments. She had some things going on, but was not sick, to our understanding. So when it came to the part for them to present me with whatever tokens of love and gift that they were going to give me, the church stood up and they were speaking. So she came to the front pew and she stood up, and she was feeling, really wasn't feeling that good that day. She was kind of weak, and she said she was having a difficulty breathing. So I'm standing beside her at the front pew, and I'm telling her to, you don't have to stand up. But she was insisted. She wanted to stand up and tell me how much she cared for me. So in the midst of her talking, she began to not be able to breathe, lose her breath. So we set her down and we rushed her to the hospital. We put her in a chair. It just got chaotic. We just cut church short, got chaotic. We rushed her to the hospital, and we lost her that day. We lost her that day. Her family, her children are taking it very hard. It's really difficult for me. Uh, and Father's Day of last year, I lost my father. My father passed, but we actually had an opportunity to put my father on our agency. He was on hospice with us. So it was different from someone dying that I love that I didn't expect. It was this has almost been more difficult for me than losing my dad, because I wasn't expecting it. So in that vein, I wanted to just talk a little bit about sudden death or understanding sudden loss, when we experience sudden loss. What makes unexpected death different from anticipated grief? When someone you love dies without warning, the grief hits differently. Sudden loss reflects, sudden loss refers to an unexpected death from accident, heart attack, or unforeseen events, like what we experienced at church. That was unforeseen. That leaves the survivors in shock and struggling to accept what happened. Research shows unexpected death significantly increase the risk of prolonged grief disorder. The different characteristics in sudden death isn't just that the person died quickly, it's that you had no opportunity to emotionally brace yourself or say goodbye. That's one of the most difficult things. You weren't expecting it. Emotionally, death is always difficult for us, but sometimes you still can have an opportunity to emotionally prepare yourself for what's about to happen. It still may bring grief, but sudden death, it does not give you the opportunity to emotionally brace yourself or to say your goodbyes. What are the mental health risks of unexpected death? Sudden loss carries specific psychological risks that anticipated death doesn't carry. It gives you elevated risk of major depression. It gives you panic disorder, and it can also cause substance disorder among the survivors. You find a lot of survivors, when it comes to sudden death, turn to substance abuse. Survivors often describe feeling uh, particularly vulnerable, as if the world has become unpredictable and dangerous. Sudden death can make people feel that the world is just a dangerous place and it's an unpredictable place because they didn't see this coming. This came out of nowhere. Unlike anticipated grief, where you have time to prepare and say your goodbyes, sudden loss denies you that chance. Once again, research shows unexpected death significantly increases risk of prolonged grief disorder. They have studied this, so people have studied this and put time into understanding it. The intense grief, it can last for months or it can last for years, and it can interfere with daily life. Many survivors describe feeling blindsided as if their world shifted in an instant. One moment your loved one was alive and part of your daily life, the next they're gone. And this is what triggered this for me. Uh, she was standing up, and it's when someone is standing up telling you how much they love you. This is what she was doing for me. She was telling my mother was there, and she was telling my birth mother, you got to share him with me because he's just like one of mine. In the midst of someone telling you how much they love you, they die. And you never have an opportunity to say how much you love them back. That can be very difficult. The abruptness can leave you in a state of shock. The world continues around you while you struggle to grasp that this actually just happened. Sudden loss often leaves you with many questions and unresolved emotions. What often surprises people is how physically grief can feel after an unexpected death. It takes a toll on you, not just emotionally, but physically. The exhaustion, the inability to concentrate, the sense that you are moving through life in a fog. These are the physical things that unexpected grief can cause. These are not signs that you are handling grief wrong. This is something that people need to understand. This is not a sign that you are doing anything wrong. They are your nervous systems responding to trauma. Death is trauma. Unexpected death is extra trauma. And uh, they typically ease as your body process what happens. These emotions can typically ease up as you process, as your body and mind process what has happened. Now, this doesn't mean everyone who experiences sudden loss will develop a mental disorder, but you should pay attention to your symptoms and seek help if grief begins interfering with your ability to function. And this is why it's important for people to understand this because a lot of times we don't pay attention or we don't understand what's happening to ourselves or to those that are around us. We must pay attention to the signs that our body is giving us, that people are giving, so we can seek help. How do we cope with sudden loss? One, we allow ourselves to feel the shock. Allow yourself to feel the shock. Don't rush to get over it, or don't rush to get over it, or force acceptance before you're ready. You know, a lot of people will tell people, "You're not over that yet," and a lot of times you may tell yourself, or you may question yourself and wonder why you're not over this yet. So accept the shock. Don't rush to get over it, and don't force acceptance before you are ready to accept what has happened. Give yourself permission to sit with disbelief and be present with your emotions, even when they feel overwhelming. Don't run from your emotions, don't hide from your emotions, and give yourself a lot of times we beat ourselves up or we think we're doing something wrong or we feel bad, but we must give ourselves permission to, I don't believe this has happened. It doesn't feel real. And we must be present with our emotions, even when our emotions are overwhelming. And number three, we must lean on our support system. There is nothing more important than a good support system. Surround yourself with family and with friends who can listen without judgment. There was a saying going around last year. People used to say it a lot. We listen and we don't judge. We listen and we don't judge. So surround yourself with family and with friends who can listen without judgment. You don't have to explain your feelings. Don't feel as though you have to explain to someone. Surround yourself with someone that will just let you explain, feel how you feel without having to explain how you feel. Because sometimes we can't explain how we feel. Sometimes we can't put into words how we feel. Sometimes you just need someone to be present with you in your pain. I'm reminded about Job. When Job was going through what he was going through, how his friends came, and the Bible tells us, and I'm sorry, I'm a preacher, y'all, I forgive me, but the Bible came and tells us that they sat with him. They sat with him for 7 days without saying anything. And that's all Job needed. Just be here with me through my pain. Because when they began to speak, each and every last one of them said the wrong thing. So sometimes we just need somebody to come and be present with me. Just sit with me through my pain. You don't have to say anything. That's difficult for the person on the other side because we always feel like we have to say something, but we don't. We don't always have to say something. Then we must manage daily life in small steps. Basic tasks can feel overwhelming. Basic tasks, basic things, getting up, taking a bath, washing the dishes, combing your hair, brushing your teeth, those things can feel overwhelming, but it is important. It is very important for us to make those small steps. We we may not be able to jump back into life and do everything that we were doing, but we must take it one step, one day at a time. But it's very important for us to make those steps. Grief is physically and emotionally draining. It's physically and it's emotionally draining. But we must understand that not only is it physically draining, it's emotionally draining. The emotional trauma after sudden death often includes intense shock and disbelief that can last weeks or months. That's why you don't need anyone telling you it's time to get over it. Guilt and self blame. Sometimes you say, if I would have only made that phone call that day, if I would have only gone by the house that day, if I would have only, they asked me to do something, if I would have only did this, I had no idea that would be the last time I would get to talk to them or see them. These are things, these are the guilt trips that we can put on ourselves. And then anger. We will be angry at the deceased. How dare them die on me? How dare them die on me? We can have anger at the deceased. We can have anger at God. Now, this is something that I always tell people. God has no problem. God has no problem with us being angry at him. He's going to love us anyway. He's going to love us anyway. How many times have our children been angry at us because they didn't understand what was going on? They didn't understand the discipline. They didn't understand something we did or didn't do, and they were angry. We didn't stop loving them because they were angry. So sometimes sudden death or just grief will make us angry with God. God doesn't care. But then we will be angry at the doctors and we will be angry at the unfairness of life. And sometimes, we feel that way. Why my loved one? Why did this happen to me? It also can cause anxiousness and hypervigilant about the safety of other loved ones. When someone dies suddenly, especially in an accident or from some type of health issue that wasn't seen, then the grieving person becomes hypervigilant and almost, as I want to use for an example, what they call a helicopter parent. We're always hovering now over our loved ones because we think something bad is going to always happen. Physical symptoms like exhaustion, insomnia, or loss of appetite. These are some more symptoms of, or these are some more things that we have to understand comes along with not only just grief, but sudden death and unexpected grief. These reactions don't mean that you are grieving incorrectly. They reflect that sudden loss is a form, once again, of trauma. Sudden loss is a form of trauma. And the brain and body responds to a shocking, life-altering event. These things that we experience, these things that we're going through, they're just the body and the mind reacting. Your life has been altered, and it has been altered suddenly. Each type of grief requires different coping strategies. There is not a cookie cutter program, there is not a one size fit all. It's different for every situation, it's different for every person. And there is no one strategy that works. There are different coping strategies, and what works for anticipated loss may not address the unique challenges of sudden death. Even in anticipated loss, you're going to have some of these same things happening. You're going to have some of these same experiences, but you've had time to prepare. You've had time to think about it. You've had time to talk to grief counseling, because when someone, this is one reason in hospice, we deal with the whole family, because grief doesn't start when the person dies. When you know that your loved one has a terminal illness, grief starts when you get that diagnosis. So you are already going through your grief process. You are already going through the things that you may experience. Sudden death is different because it hits you all at once. So the things that may work, or the strategies that may work for anticipated grief, may not necessarily work for sudden loss. There is no timeline for grief, whether it's anticipated grief or whether it's sudden loss. There is no timeline. You can't tell someone that you should be over this. Triggers like anniversaries, holidays, or even a simple song on the radio can bring back the pain with surprising intensity. Just simple things. Sometimes you can smell something. Someone can walk by with a cologne or perfume on that your loved one liked, or someone can be cooking something that was their favorite food, or something that they like to cook. Anything can be a trigger. When you thought you were over it, it can bring back a wave of emotions that you thought you were over. So there is no timeline. And when you feel those things, that doesn't that doesn't mean that you are regressing, or is not a sign of regression. It is an ongoing nature of love and loss. It's not that we have regressed when we feel these emotions. It's just reminding us that we have lost someone that we truly love. So what must we do? We must watch for the signs that will let us know whether or not we may need professional help. If you're having trouble, if you're having trouble, then we must understand and watch for the signs that we see within ourselves that we may need someone to talk to, or someone just to listen to us. Not our best friend, our wife, or our husband, but we may need professional help. If you're having thoughts of self harm, I can't live without them. You're having thoughts of self harm, you may need professional help. If you're having the inability to function at work or at home, if you are experiencing persistent numbness, or still in a crisis mode months and months later, psychotherapy can make a significant difference. It can make a significant difference. Let me throw this out to men, because men we have a difficult time We have a difficult time going to counselors or going to uh, get some professional help. It's not a sign of weakness. It has nothing to do with our machismo. Sometimes we too need to talk to people, but we have a stigma that it means that we're weak. It does not mean that we're weak. So if you know a man, pay close attention to your male relatives or friends or loved ones, and watch them closely. If they don't see the signs, perhaps you will see the signs, and encourage them. Encourage them to seek some professional help. We can honor our loved ones. We can honor the memory of our loved ones. We can engage in activities that they enjoy. We can create memorial spaces for them, or we can contribute to causes that they cared about. This channels our grief into meaningful actions. It's not about moving on. We're not trying to move on. We're not trying to just move on and that's the past. But it's about carrying their memories forward. Now, when does sudden loss become complicated grief? There's another aspect called complicated grief. Complicated grief is diagnosed when intense sympathies persist beyond 12 months. It persists beyond 12 months. Now, this doesn't mean that in 12 months you should be over your grief, but the intensity of it should have eased up some. If it significantly impairs your daily function, you shouldn't still after 12 months not be able to function. The grief process can take many years. This is normal. But if your grief prevents you from engaging with life, then you're having a problem. If you are experiencing a wide range of intense emotions, you're up, you're down, you're mad, you're sad. I mean, just at the flick of a light, at the flick of a button, you're just experiencing these intense emotions. Now, understand that doesn't ease up. We may need to get some professional help because now we have gone into complicated grief, complicated grief. And those are the things that we may need to look out for, pay attention to when we experience sudden loss.